we going to be puffing our chests out like pigeons
Thank you
towards
for catching that lyric.
the music video? I had to, man. I had to. It's a standout for me for sure. It's Nasipi's one here, founder of Sludge Underground Podcast, and I'm back again with a brand new banger for you. Today, I have Max and Love, probably one of the most exciting duos out in South Africa right now, and I'm super excited and privileged to be doing this interview. I want to send a massive shout out to Warren of Plug Music Agency. You know, he's the one who basically organized this, and yeah, I'm super excited to get things going. First things first, I want to just congratulate you guys on obviously your debut album, No Skips, as you know the youngins will say. And yeah, obviously you're talking about, you know, the blues might get you too. I've got a lot of favorite songs in there. But how does it feel to sort of, you know, launch a debut album, especially because, you know, I obviously noticed that there was a lead single that you guys released, and then obviously last year you released one single as well. All of a sudden, boom, album.
It feels incredible. It feels really, really great to be putting out an album. It's a scary step, but I'm very glad that we've gotten to this point. It's felt like the time for a while, but I think it was just a matter of the right teams coming together, the right parties getting involved, and just putting in the work so that we could put this album out with the right system, with the right support, with the right freedom to create, you know. And it wasn't a perfect process at all. There's a lot of learning that we had to do, a lot of learning of us that the label had to do, that the engineer and co-producer Matthew Fink had to do as well. So there was a lot of kind of figuring it out that in the process, but it was still very rewarding. And we got this beautiful piece of work. These blues might get you too now.
And also, I'd like to add to that that you know, it might from the outset look like it was boom, an album just came out after like a single or one single, and then a year later another single, and then an album has come out. But to on the outside it might seem like that, but the work of all the songs in the album have actually lived quite a long life, and we've had the pleasure and the honor of being able to play these songs and work with them and workshop some of them with some incredible band members that we have gotten the pleasure to work with on different capacities, from drummer to bassist, cellist, backup singers, keys guys, and all that jazz. So these songs have all been in the work, have all been in the work for the last pretty much 2 years that Max and Love has been together. So we didn't write the songs in studio and then like put them on tape. They've all lived a life and they've grown and they've evolved in the last 2 years. That now is when we felt they were ready to be pressed and put out to the world.
In 2024, why an album for Max and Love, particularly considering what is happening, you know, in the music space at the moment?
We're album people. I love
Mm,
albums. Max loves albums. A full record is just, it feels like the right way to consume music. And I mean, look, we have
mm,
done the singles thing. I've done EPs on my solo side as well. I know what that kind of space feels like, but an album, this is a first for both Max and I, but it feels
mm,
right. It feels like the right way to put music out for me, especially if you have the support and especially if the songs
mm.
have been worked long enough. And like Max said, we took these on the road, so they've been workshopped to a point where it felt ready enough to step onto a record. And yeah, those songs are probably going to change as time goes in terms of how we perform them. Maybe some might get re-recorded, but
Mm.
that's the process, you know.
Because of being an actor, I feel the album is the movie equivalent. You get me? So releasing just one single will be as good as releasing a trailer to no greater film. And with the album that we had put together, we were trying to tell one holistic story rather than a bunch of songs that stand in individually. You know, I mean, earlier you had said that it's a no skip album. You get me? We tried to create something that is an experience from track one all the way through to the final track, being track 12, where no stone is left unturned, you know, no narrative is left explained. So I think just for an overall experience, the album was the only way we could do it.
I do have one song in particular that just, hits home for me. I have multiple favorites, but this is one that I'd like to just find out about because it really is hit home. I'm talking about Good Body. And
Mhm.
man, I feel like it's that song there, I feel, is one of many of the songs as well that just both of you should shine. An element of it reminds me of, like Jimi Hendrix in a way, because there was this thing that Jimi Hendrix used to do where it's not necessarily singing, but he'd be sort of like talking in between type
Yeah,
vibe
yeah,
and
yeah.
sort of like communicating. Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. And there's the part where, you're talking there about how like, the different sizes, like, if you like them, trying to fit in jeans or something along those lines. And if, you may like them skinny, nothing wrong about that. That emotion, that communication is something that you don't hear much inside. Like, I haven't interviewed a band that has given me this experience that you guys have given me listening to this. So how did you guys come up with that song, and how do you ensure that you guys are absolutely killing the sound? Like, I feel like we as South Africans, this is a long-winded question, but we're South Africans, and I feel like you guys could literally go to Mississippi and fit right in. That's how well you've executed this. So how do you guys go about doing that?
Good Body was was a wonderful one. So we had a rehearsal one day, and the whole rehearsal was gauged towards writing new music. We wanted to write new music, and there was a melody that we had already started dabbling on, and we're like, yeah, we started dabbling on, and then we're like, okay, cool, we're gonna try and flesh it out. Man, we spent hours on that melody, and it was just one of those moments or
Yeah.
those days where things just are not coming together, So we decided to call it, and as well as we're busy packing up and we're just having our chats at the end of a rehearsal, I remember looking to Love and being like, with everything that we have, dude, I'd love to do something with a classic blues riff. The most Nothing is as classic
Mm.
as can can, whether it doesn't matter what
Mm.
background you are from, whether you're a house cat, hip hop cat, R&B, whatever. It's one of the most,
Mm.
if not the ultimate iconic riff in music history,
Everybody
right
knows
next
it.
to
Mm.
pretty much Beethoven's Fur Elise. Everyone knows
Mm.
that and can relate to that. And that was the basis of that, where it's like, I'd love for us to do something with that riff. Love was kind of like, yeah, sure, we'll see. Because at this point, I think also energies were low because we tried to stab at something and it just didn't land. So I started just playing that riff and seeing what we could do with that and putting certain licks in between that riff that also represent myself as an individual guitar player and the style of Max and Love. And somehow something just, when musicians or artists say like it all just clicked. It just clicked. And Love was like, what wait, what you just do there? Do that, keep doing that. I kid you not, out of nowhere, he just took out he has so Love has this thing where he's in the zone and juices are flowing when he starts laughing to himself. Like, because now he has a whole internal
Yeah.
conversation that's taking place, and he just started laughing. It's like,
Mm.
just keep playing that, and he just started writing the song
Mm.
right there in front of me. And as I just kept looping that's the main riff of Good Body, I started coming up with other parts
Yeah.
of it. And when we got to the chorus part, that's where the hum came from. That I'm falling in love. That's where that hum came
Mm.
from. All of that, from the inception of that riff to the end of the song, I think was in a span of like a good 10-15 minutes. And that whole song was done and
Yeah,
completed
Mm.
and put to bed in 15 in
What?
15 minutes
yeah.
after spending hours failing at songs
Yeah.
that we were trying to write.
How did you get into that zone, Love? When you're laughing, laughing and getting into it. What clicked?
I mean, it's probably a thing in general, I guess, maybe, but I know when it comes to executing creative work, especially music, I am extremely impulsive and inspiration based. I have tools based off of my education on how to kind of create things based off of formula and systems, but inspiration is my favorite kind of thing to just move off of. So as soon as that kind of thing
Mm.
happens, my mind immediately just like tunnel vision, eyes dilate kind of thing where I hear and see nothing else except for what we're doing right now. And it becomes like, it's almost like
Mm.
seeing fireworks where it's just trying to catch all of these different things and try to see whether they make sense and try to. It's like I can literally in moments like that I can hear a full composition, an entire
Mm.
composition of every single instrument that's going to be playing in the mix, where backing vocals would be playing if they're there, the potential progression of the song. But also, I'm not so limited by the what I think the progression of the song is going to be, because the whole point of being in that zone of inspiration is that, okay, I've got something now, you do something else and see what this does, and then kind of it's like creating multiple explosions and seeing what happens. It's a very improvisation kind of based kind of inspiration and creation process. But yeah, it's pure. I can't tell you how or when to create it. It just kind of
Yeah.
happens, and I try to put myself in that environment as much as possible. But yeah, it's pretty much just inspiration and gut.
Softest Heart was the first single that you guys dropped, obviously before the album dropped. How did you guys know or go about actually selecting that as the single that comes before or an introduction to the album?
We struggled. There was a lot of conversation between Max and I, and between Max and I and the label, around what song or songs should be the single or singles. And I think The Softest Heart, it wasn't in the initial shortlist of songs. I think we're leaning towards something that either had a bit more of an upbeat energy, or something that was closer to like a Delta blues kind of feel, so that it wouldn't really. We wanted to kind of position ourselves in a place that appealed to blues people, something that could travel across the world as a blues thing. And then I don't know, we while we're busy listening to mixes at the studio, and at this point I think we had already decided what our single was going to be, or at least had two songs that it was down to. And while Max and I were sitting in one of the boardrooms at the studio, just listening to the mix of The Softest Heart, we kind of just looked at each other, we're just like, actually, maybe The Softest Heart could do it.
Yeah.
And look, I don't know if it was the right decision or the wrong decision, but I do know that I love the song. We love the song,
Mm.
as we do every other song on the album. So, I mean, it is what it is in terms of whether it's the right single by industry standards or business standards or whatever, but it felt
Mm.
right to us.
It offered both a level of sensitivity in the first half and sort of a groove towards the second half, where it's a song you feel first, and then you kind of like settle into those feelings, and you can sway to it. It was a nice middle ground between what I wouldn't call traditional blues, but still blues with with an experimental element that is very much known from under the Max and Love brand, because ultimately blues is what you make it. And for the genre, I believe, for the genre to stay alive and to keep growing in the ever changing and evolving music industry, is that it needs to be challenged. We need to throw
Mm.
ourselves and our ideas and our imaginations into blues. For us to keep saying like traditional blues all the time, that means the genre will never grow and will stay in the 1920s as to where it was I'm just saying incepted. You
Yeah.
get you get me. So I think the Softest Heart was like Love said, that we don't know that if it's right for industry standard, but it made sense to us.
Love, you mentioned, dropping through a label. What would you guys say are some of the benefits of dropping music through a label versus maybe independently?
We put this out not with a major label, but with an independent label by the name of Just Music, which felt right
Mm.
because one, their track record has been pretty good, working with experimental musicians as well as people on the indie rock and metal side of music. But they've worked with people like Nakane, like Petit Noir, like Johnny Cradle. And for me, those are the things that kind of sold me on it. That they understand the rock scene and stuff, which is a place that we have a seat in. But understanding how to work with weird experimental young black men is something that I think a lot of folks and labels and systems in South Africa don't really know how to navigate. If you're not a rapper or house singer or producer, or I'm a piano producer or singer, there's a very limited space for how people can understand who and what you are and what space you are. I always think about the Donald winning I think Donald won a best R&B album at the Summers one year off of a house album because they just didn't
Mm.
know what to do. They didn't understand it right.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
the benefit with working with this particular label is that we got support. There was a space, a studio with an extremely experienced and open-minded and open-spirited man by the name of Matthew Fink, who ran the studio, engineered us, mixed and mastered the project, and co-produced the project alongside us as well. We had that kind of team. We had funds that were put aside to be able to bring people who have been running this road with us, to support them, to pay session musicians to come into studio and for us to create work that we want to create. There's support. I think that's the most important thing, is that there's support. The independent thing, I think, gets a little bit hyped up too much in this day and age just because we can. But it doesn't mean everybody has to do that. And it's not to say that we're going to be with the label forever. But I think knowing what you're going into a situation looking for and what you're willing to do is very important when you're making music and putting out music. And in this case, we're willing to go into this knowing that we're going to be able to, that we're willing to write off certain rights and money down the line, so that we have support and so that this can be a collaborative effort, so everybody can win from it if this is something that wins. But at the end of the day, we got to create something we believed in, and there was a system that was willing to let us do that and able to support us in that.
Who are some of your favorite bands and artists to sort of be on the same lineup with? And let's keep it local as well.
Of course.
Right up there for me would have to be Dan Badlansky, who's been quite a role model of mine. Just growing up listening to blues and just appreciating guitar mastery. There's a beautiful show we did called Love on, I think it was Love in the Garden at Nyrox. And in that lineup was also Tubatsi Moloi, who played with Albert Frost, another guitar favorite of mine. The vast amount of soundscapes that they covered with just the two of them on stage was incredible. Both of them are just such incredible artists.
Yeah, I think on my side, it's definitely the ones where we got to get involved a little bit more. The two shows that stick out for me are when we played at Hell's Kitchen, another place that we got to play quite a lot at up until they closed even. We got to play opening for the Black Cat Bones, and at the end of their set, they
Oh,
brought us
lovely.
on.
Yeah.
They brought us on to play a song with it. What is the name of that song, Max?
Roadhouse Blues by the Doors.
So we played Roadhouse Blues with them there. I didn't really know the song too well. We kind of rehearsed it a little bit in the week, but Max was like, "Bruh, put that thing in E and we'll improvise. We'll work in it." He played. I got up on stage. I was like, I know part of the lyrics, but not really. So I got up on a table and started howling, singing, and bringing the audience in. That was a really fun one. Another one that I really enjoyed was, this was in our first year, opening up for Hot Sticks Mabuse at his birthday celebration that he did at Snatch 32. That was a good time. I got to get on stage and jam with Hot Sticks and his band playing Burnout. That was a fantastic time. That was a really fantastic time. I think also just collaborating with folks is the fun part. It's one thing to like be on a lineup next to other people and they do their thing, we do our thing, etc. I think it's fun when we get to kind of jam together.
No, it's absolutely beautiful, guys. We're almost at the end. I do want to find out from you guys in that, in 2024 we did, touch a bit on, social media and things like TikTok, things like Instagram, and so on. It seems, or it would seem, that nowadays being a musician is more than just about making music. Obviously, you need to have some sort of know-how when it comes to social media. So, how are you guys sort of navigating that? And how are you finding ways to make sure that you're keeping a consistent balance between, you know, keeping up appearances on social media, getting all the content done, while also then not slacking off on the music?
I absolutely hate social media. I hate my phone. I don't like that kind of thing. I thrive more on interpersonal kind of things. So I try to be out and in the industry around like events and stuff like that as much as I can. That's my way of personal and brand marketing. But when we're talking social media marketing, Max is very good at that.
It's a funny one because as you're asking this question, just before I had to dive into this podcast, I was literally in the middle of editing a reel that needs to go out for tomorrow's show. To be honest, I don't know how to feel about it. I learned what I've been learning, doing the necessary research. I've been doing it as a it's stuff that needs to get done. Right now, with where we at in the generation, the fact that I'm not even just going to say musicians, artists, whether you're an actor, a dancer, a musician, whatever form of artistry, that it seems like a lot of our careers now sit on the social media platform. The fact that actors have to now declare their social media handles and following in like audition this thing info, what are they called, the things we fill out, forms, audition forms. The fact that you have to declare that, where I don't understand what that has to do with my ability to truthfully depict and portray this role that I'm coming to audition for. That artists now need to keep up with what is trending right now, have to keep up with content creation as a career on its own, and should be treated
Yeah.
as that, like to hire someone to actually do content creation for, whether for influencers, for brands, for companies, for
Mm.
artists, however the case might be. That is actually someone's job. That's a singular job on its own. So now it seems like within one career, you have to have all these sub careers, if I may, that we need to
Mm.
create the music. We need to be truthful in our performance. We need to create content. We need to stay relevant on, because also with the algorithm being what it is right now, a week outside of social media, whatever platform that you're on, you're bumped down right to the bottom with the amount of stuff that is constantly
Mm.
regulating in that. So it is quite a trick. I have too much emotions towards that, but as for it getting
Mm.
done, unfortunately, it has to get done, and it's just now to find a way to make it happen in a way that is also conducive to the artist. That to not just do it because you have to post a post or a reel every single day. How can we then utilize this to our advantage without taking away from our personal brand? Because the last thing any artist, I would assume, would want is to fall in under the fodder that is being released out there, or just being another artist who's creating content out there. And it's been a learning curve. Love has also exposed me to just some of the artists that he's been quite a fan of, and how they've used social media as a tool to get a wider reach and to get some of their message out there, but and also in a sense of using it as another artistic tool to their music. Who the certain artists who are releasing their songs in little bits of the song before the release of the song. And when you now put all those little reels together that they've actually released, it makes up the greater song. And it's majority of the people, or the people that will catch to what is going on, are the actual followers of that said artist. So little things like that, as to how do we then individualize the content in which you create, to feed your brand, but also just your mental health. There's something about social media as well that keeps chipping away at particularly our artists.
Yeah.
And I would like to
Mm.
keep it at the artistry rather than musicians, because musicians aren't just isolated in their own little bubble or industry, because we all
Yeah.
in this together. As long as you are a creative, you are an
Yeah.
artist. You know, um,
Mm.
yeah, that's my take on that one.
I certainly relate to what you're saying there, man, at it chipping away at you, because when you say it needs to get done, if you don't get it done, then you sort of just reduced and, you become part of the fodder, as you were saying. And it requires that you're just constantly updating that, constantly working on it, because once you stop, people forget about you, and that eats away at you, because then you need to do this even when you don't want to do it, but you have to, because if you don't, then you sort of irrelevant. It's one continuous hectic cycle, one that I don't enjoy either. I really just I relate so much to what you just said there. Let's look towards the future, guys. In closing, what is coming up for you guys? Are we going to be puffing our chests out like pigeons
Thank you
towards
for catching that lyric.
a music video? I had to, man. I had to. It's a standout for me for sure. Maybe you can give me a bit of insights on that before, but like, what can we sort of expect? Are there going to be music videos that you guys are going to be dropping for the album? What's in store for the future?
The thing about putting out an album that's different to like singles and albums, actually, no, maybe not. I think the thing about it is just that it lives a life beyond the first week. And hip hop culture will make you think that the first week is all that matters. Pop music will make you think that the first week is all that matters. But that's not it anymore. An artist by the name of Alwanster, who I believe you guys have interviewed, I think he talks about it. Where he also talks about that the release process, the release of an album is a 6 to 8 months, sometimes even a year commitment. So there's stuff that we still pushing down the line that is going to support this vision of this experience of these blues might get you to. 'Cause that's what it is. We want this to be an experience from the audio side to the record side, because there is a vinyl, and that is something that people can get as well. which leans into the brand, leans into the genre, leans into the style, leans into the experience. All of these things we are working on, but most importantly, putting on some shows. Max and I have been trained in putting on shows, and it's something that we found has served us best in the past few years. So that's something that we're definitely looking forward to putting on more of, to really present that right, and not just getting booked for a festival or for a gig at an event or locate at a venue or whatever it is, which we love, but putting in our own fully creative touch and really leaning into what that means. That's definitely part of the biggest scheme of what we want to do.
Are we gonna be seeing you guys in Durban? I mean, you guys never come down. When I say you guys, artists in general, like they
Bro, can I
Durban
tell
is
you, we
always
want to
just
come, man. Where do we go? Where do we go? Because now you see, you mentioned Winston's earlier. Last time, last time
yeah,
we spoke to someone, people were unsure if spots are still open because it seems like Durban as a music scene took quite a hit from lockdown,
yeah,
and it's crazy for me that that's the
definitely.
case because I mean, when Max and I were in university, it seemed like a good like 80% of the industry, especially the
Yeah,
successful artists and the coming up artists at the time, were all coming from
hmm,
either Peter Maritzburg or Durban. Whether we're talking about
for
the
sure.
guys in
Yeah,
house or we're talking about the Sketchy Bongos and the Shekinahs and the Kyle Deutsches and all of these
yes,
guys, everybody was coming up from that
yeah.
side. So it confused me. It doesn't make sense. What there must be something happening there. So I don't know. You tell me,
Yeah.
man. Where should we go? We want to come. We very much want to come. We want to do the whole country and the whole world.
With Durban, it's an interesting dynamic. Just to touch on what you just said there, I honestly feel like it, and this is not because this is not biased because I am from Durban, but you're absolutely right in what you're saying. Even in hip hop, man, I mean, Nasty C, Blackie,
Yeah,
Durban guys, and I feel like it's one of those things where that we've got the talent, we just don't have the resources, and in turn, these people then blow up in Joburg
yeah.
or they need to leave Durban in order to grow. But just to answer your question, in terms of venues, man, we don't have a specific like music venue at the moment. So we've had sort of like restaurants come up and host that sort of scene when it comes to music, people that play music and so on. So the prominent ones at the moment would be Robson's. There's a place called Robson's
I know
near
Robson's. Yeah.
Point
Well, there's a couple. They
by
have a
the
couple
harbor. Yeah.
branches, right? Because I've been to their branch.
Yeah, it's a brewery. Yeah, it's a brewery.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they're pretty big. Yeah, and then we have a place called the Westville Warehouse where it's like a restaurant type vibe, but you do get bands that often play there. A lot of the bigger bands, the metal guys, obviously come down there as well and they play. And there's a place called the Vern in Howick that is more near Peter Marisburg that you mentioned, which is also one that is basically hosting. But you'll understand that these are just venues that aren't necessarily set up for music, but they've sort of adopted, the music space, and they're like, listen, you guys love music, come through to our venues and enjoy. So I wouldn't say it's as like massive or as like made for musicians as some of the stuff that you guys have up there, but there's certainly a couple of options and people do go through to these venues and so on. So I'll even
Look,
write
as
it
long
down
as
for you
people are
guys so
hungry
that you
for it,
guys add.
as long as people are hungry for it, we can also
For
just,
sure,
like we said, man, we're trying
for
to put
sure.
on our own show. So if it means we have to take a space that isn't a
Yeah.
venue and turn it into a live experience, that's
Mm.
stuff we can do.
What?
Collaborate with people who create
Yeah.
food, collaborate
What?
with people who have alcohol and
Mm.
other kinds of
For
beverages,
sure.
and we create an
Yeah.
experience that people can go in and
Mm-hmm.
check out. I think
An
the
experience.
question was wrong that I
Yeah.
made. I shouldn't have asked about whether there's venues. I should be asking if there's people that want to attend more live music because that's what
That
matters more.
want to. Yeah, man, for sure. And I would actually suggest for you guys in particular, because I mean we're talking about a label here. We're talking about the level is quite. You guys are on a whole other level. I would suggest something like a festival. There are quite a lot of good festivals here. You'll get like a Splashy Fan. You guys would fit right in at Splashy
We
Fan.
actually
It's
did
pro- it's
Splashy
probably
Fan.
one
That's
of
the
the
only
biggest
KZN
events here.
gig we've done. We did Splashy Fan. When was it? Last year, man?
Last year, it was last year, and it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible.
Yeah. It's really world class. I mean, the production and people behind it are absolutely amazing. There's also Belito Pro that happens around June, July or so. That's definitely one you guys need to check out. It's in Belito. Well, not no, not yeah. It's near Belito, like Salt Rock, near a beach, and they generally get like your Majosi and all those sorts of lads coming out to play. So you guys would fit right in when it comes to that. So I think more the festival type vibe would fit you guys perfectly, because with like a venue like maybe Robson's, you run the risk of you'd have to organize that, you'd need to put in resources, bring your back line, etc, etc. Whereas a festival, you come, you set up, you do what you got to do. So yeah, I mean, if you guys have come to Splashy, then it means hopefully you guys come again next year and we get to see you if you missed out last year.
Sure. I got to mention something real quick. You mentioned Majosi,
Yeah.
and I have to tell you now
Yeah.
that is one of the sweetest individuals ever. This
Oh.
man saved our
Yeah.
lives last year when we were in Cape Town. Max, tell him about it. Tell him about Majosi, dog.
So not Max and Love's like first time coming through to Cape Town to play a show that was organized by Tex in the City in association with the Two Oceans Aquarium and a few other brand sponsors there. It was a great show for the what's the series called? The After Dark series. So now we're flying through and get there. Getting as soon as we touch down, going straight to the venue because now we need to go to sound check. Now it's my first time flying with my guitars and all that jazz, and just I'm also like I'm scared as to all the possible things that could go wrong at this point. As soon as we start plugging in the guitars, my resonator guitar, no sound, nothing. Doors is about to open. They're rushing
What?
us off stage at this point. There's no time to remedy what's going. So now on this particular guitar, it's almost half the set. Well, yeah, a quarter of the set, but it's a huge chunk of the set that's played on this
Yeah.
particular guitar. And these songs I can't play on another guitar because of tuning wise and action and various other
Mm.
technical reasons. So we had to pivot quickly and restructure an entire set that we've spent months rehearsing, taking out songs, putting in songs, writing new transitions, but we made it work. Majosi was, I think halfway through, we only found out that Majosi was the MC at this particular event, right? While the thing was happening, I think him and Tekla were busy chatting and stuff, and Majosi started making phone calls and hitting up his guitar luthier there in Cape Town that, yo, there's these two boys, this and this, he has this
What?
guitar. At the end of the show, he comes, he chats to me, he tells me like, yo, I heard what happened to your guitar. Here's a number of a guy. Go see him. He's my guitar luthier. He's gonna sort you. He's gonna sort you out. I'm like, yo, dude,
Damn.
thank you. Okay, cool. Because I was also now me and Love also trying to find out from whoever we can, from the other guitarists that were there, to do they know
Yeah.
any luthiers in Cape Town that we can go to the following day? Because we still had,
And this is
I
our
think, two other
first
shows.
show while we're in Cape Town. We still got
Yeah.
another two or three more shows. That
Imagine,
is,
man.
So we got to get this
What?
fixed.
Sort of like a
um,
baptism by fire here.
Mate,
yeah.
Yeah.
so the next day, I go through first thing in the morning, dude. 8 o'clock. I'm there. Took an Uber. It's about a 45-minute drive from where we were staying. Doesn't matter. Took an Uber. We go through
Mm.
there. Guy looks at it. Turns out he works on Majosi's guitar. He works on Dan's guitar, Basone Lobster's guitars. So he's like the luthier in Cape Town. He does the work. Does the work. I'm like, cool, thank you so much, appreciate it. How much do I owe you? He's like, no, don't worry about it. I'm like, no, 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 don't do that. How much? Like, I appreciate also
What?
you squeezing me in. He's like, no, it's all good. Actually, I didn't want to tell you because he said I
Yeah.
shouldn't mention it. But my Josie just said like we should take care of you, and that's that. My soul is melting. Yeah, I'm trying to call my Josie on some. Yo, the guy's saying that this is taken care of. Are you sure? It's like, no, don't worry, guys. Love your music. You guys are onto something. Just please take it as my gift to you for you guys to keep spreading the love and the art that you guys are spreading. I call Love and I tell Love now as to yo, okay, so my Josie just did this, and now we're both like hearts are melting, we warm inside as to like, dude, he was that selfless act from artist to artist, all in the name of I believe in what you're doing, I love what you're doing, keep doing what you're doing, I see
Mm.
you. That small gestures like that
Mm.
absolutely means the world. And this was the first time both of us met
Yeah.
him. He also just met us, and
Yeah.
it was incredible, man.
Yeah.
He's just amazing.
It's definitely a rare trait. I feel like with some of my experience with, he's not a hip hop artist, but like you'll find that some of the genres are very much filled with personalities that are like ego driven. So it's something that's refreshing when an artist, especially as big as Majosi as well, is able to assist in that sort of way, and show compassion for a fellow, artist. It's absolutely brilliant. This is a brilliant story that you just shared with me. Shout out to Majosi for sure.
A big part of our careers, Max and Love, in the past 3 years has been
Yeah,
a lot of really well established musicians or venue owners or promoters or radio folks who have looked at us and said, we see you and we'll do whatever we can to help you out.
nice.
And just even if it's something as small as just like I've got a number for you, or something as big as let me fix your guitar. These things all just like pile up, man. It really piles up and it fills up the soul and it refills the inspiration and the motivation in a beautiful way.
100%, guys. I want to thank you for joining me on a beautiful day to have a chat about some of your music, the album, what's coming, even though you were a bit secretive about that. But I'm hopeful that, only good things ahead.
Yes.
For anyone who wants to get in touch, maybe work with you guys and so on, where do we get in touch?
We are Max and Love at Max and Love on all social media platforms. That's Max with two X's: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all the works. If we want to get more personal about it, maxandlove at gmail.com. If they want to email us on some interesting collaborations, bookings, melodies, rhythms, hey, jam, we're open. We're
Yeah.
open to expand. We're open to meeting. We're open to exploring, but just on just some things that's just chatting just before we I know we're about to wrap up, but exciting things that has been happening
Yeah.
in the Max and Love world, and that has happened, is that I
Mm.
have officially joined Ibanez South Africa as a brand ambassador.
Ooh.
Yes, that's
Boop,
been
boop,
some.
boop,
I mean, hey
boop.
now, but wait, there's more. Right there. Oh, ooh, look at that, man.
There's more.
Okay.
There's
I
more.
just wanted to do a young flex,
What
but
about it?
well, love had a bit more. And on love side, as he
What?
goes, love has been also had the pleasure of signing on to Sure South Africa as brand ambassador as well. So, not just getting support from a label point of view, but also from a brand point of view,
Mm,
just that assistance, that
for sure.
help, a whole brand, being able, another one where they're
Mm,
saying that I see you, we believe in what you boys are doing. All these
mm,
things add up to taking us to that next step, to finally being like
mm.
global and really sharing. I mean, more than playing a world stage, one thing that tramples all that we want to do as Max and Love is just to share our story with as much people in the world as we possibly can.
And you guys are absolutely on your way to doing that, man. Shout out to Ibanez, shout out to Shaw, and shout out to Max and Love. I'm wishing you guys all the best, and
Shout out
I
to
hope
Sludge
that this
Underground.
continues. Thank you guys for joining me, and to you, the audience as well. Thank you for joining us for this beautiful chat. I hope you learned as much as I did about Max and Love. I want to send another shout out to Warren and Plug Music Agency, one of the best people out there, a homie of note. And yeah, I think we're gonna be playing out with one of the songs from the album. What, I'm biased, so I am going to take Good Body because it is my favorite. And yeah, catch a bit of that there. Do enjoy it. And do obviously go and stream the entire album because there's nothing but gems. And do remember to check out all our merch on our store. I'll leave all the links in the description for you. And until next time, it is bye for now.